This is The Whole Truth, brought to you by the Greenville County Democratic Party. From local city councils and school boards to the South Carolina legislature and the nation, we provide a clear-eyed view of the whole truth surrounding the decisions, the policies, and the politics that have a direct impact on your family, your neighbors, and you. Hello, once again. Welcome to another podcast of The Whole Truth from the Greenville County Democratic Party. I am the first vice chair, Steve Ramirez with the Greenville County Democratic Party. And with me today, I have a new person behind the microphone.
Aha! I am Lynn Ramirez, the better half.
What role do you have?
I'm the executive chairwoman, kind of the liaison between the county party and the state party, as well as other roles serving on COOB, various different things. I know, caucus, councils, organizations, bylaws, rules.
Jacqueline of all trades.
Riveting stuff here. Yes.
Okay.
So you made me come on here to talk about the election process. We've had people in the neighborhood.
Outsized influence with this person.
Oh, yeah, yes. So I'm astounded at the amount of misinformation out there, as I know you are. When someone says, I recently threw my hat in to run for a House seat, and had a neighbor say, I wish I could vote for you, but I'm a registered independent.
Yes.
Someone else said, I'd vote for you. I'm a registered Republican. And I'm like, you don't register here. Oh, yeah, I can't vote in the primary for you. And that's not true. So we're starting to find a lot of misinformation out there, as we do every cycle. We're bombarded with the increased misinformation, conspiracy theories. Some of it's deliberate.
Oh, yes. Some of it's been going on since about, 2019.
Yeah. But a lot of it is just innocent lack of information, and then the spreading of false information in hopes of helping someone else. So I'm not saying it's malicious intent, but
a good chunk of it is. A good chunk of it is, but there's a lot of it is not malicious.
Right. Whatever the reason, it erodes trust in the voting process, whips up fear. It just spreads and undermines the entire election process. So this whole segment, usually we have candidates being interviewed. Sometimes we do That's Not the Whole Truth when we take a look at right-wing radio and debunk and show the fallacies that they use. This is more of a PSA. We want to get the right facts out there, especially because there is an election coming up. And we're not talking about November. This is June 9th coming up in South Carolina. We have the primaries. We want everybody, number one, to know that, and number two, to know that they can vote in it. Like you said, a lot of people say, I can't vote in the primaries because I'm a registered blah, 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 or because I'm an independent, or whatever reason. Those are not the whole truth. There's misinformation. Some of that actually comes not maliciously. People who come from other states, for example, where they do have to register their affiliation as a Republican, as a Democrat, et cetera. They move here and they have previously registered as a Republican or Democrat or whatever for whatever reason. They move here and presume the same thing. But we have open primaries currently. Right. And I'll explain what that means, because it's not something everyone is aware of.
Familiar with, yeah.
So let me start by giving some examples of some issues that come up. Besides the open primary issue, years ago, let me preface everything by saying I'm not with the State Election Commission or even the County Election Commission. So I'm talking with experience of being a poll manager, both of us, not just in this state but several other states. So we see differences. Compare, contrast. But I was at a neighborhood, I think it was a bunco party in the neighborhood, and I'm enjoying my cheese and wine, and I overhear a woman talking to another group of people and saying how with authority, she stated that all these illegal aliens can just walk in and vote, and that's why they want open borders.
It's true. It's
well,
or not.
Let me straighten that out. There's no way. It just doesn't happen. And when I questioned her about it, she had no basis for that, but this is what she heard somewhere, and this is what she's spreading with authority. So South Carolina has some of the strictest laws to voting, which also make it as far as security, that makes it great, but as far as disenfranchising voters, that's a problem also.
Yep.
I mean, we have heavy voter ID laws. You can't show up and vote without a photo ID.
And a few people, more than one, get turned away because they are not fully prepared. They didn't read all the instructions ahead of time. It does tick some people off. We've seen it at the polls frequently.
Right. And we'll touch on that, too, because say you show up, you're registered to vote, you show up at the proper polling place, but you forgot your license or whatever it is, and you got to get back to work. So you're like, oh, darn, I really wanted to vote. There are methods that you can still vote, but you vote a special ballot, a special paper ballot that goes in a special paper envelope. It's called a provisional or a fail-safe, depending on the reason you needed to vote not straight with the screens. But that would require you then to show up at the county office.
Yeah.
The county office.
Election Commission office.
So you can vote on a provisional ballot,
and then
but your ballot
it.
will not count unless you show up prior to the hearing to show your ID. So you don't get away
ID,
without
sign the affidavit. Right.
Yes.
You sign all the paperwork that
Right.
basically justifies that, yes, you are a registered voter in this location.
Right.
And then your provisional ballot goes from provisional to, yes, it counts.
Right. But I want to jump back to when you said, some people are turned away. They're not turned away for not having their photo ID. There are options there. Sometimes people are turned away because they're in the wrong polling place. They forgot.
Done that many times.
Yeah.
It's one of the first things we check when behind the screen they show their ID.
Yeah.
Is this where you're currently residing? Okay, you are not registered at this polling location.
Yeah.
You're at somewhere else, and we can look that up then and say, you're at the school down on XYZ.
Yeah, and the locations occasionally change for various reasons.
Sometimes problematic.
Yeah, yeah. Ours changed locations because of the 151 voting precincts in Greenville County. Ours, Walnut Springs and Simpsonville area, is the largest.
Yep.
Most precincts are supposed to have about 2,000 voters.
No more than 1,500 by state statute,
By
actually.
state statute, yes. However, there's workarounds because we didn't have time to it's not redrawing districts, but redrawing precincts. Oh, don't get me started on that. Poll workers. Who wants to work the polls? You're working for less than state minimum wage at $7.25 now. It's a civil service. It is, but it's arduous and difficult to navigate. But that's another reason they don't have enough polling places. Sometimes polling places are combined. So if you move and you're still in the same precinct, you can update your address right there when you're doing it. But if you're jumping from another county and you don't if it's within 30 days, you can still vote in that precinct. But if it's more than 30 days, you would have had to change your address and vote at the new polling location.
So the lessons learned, make sure you keep, as soon as you move, go get your voter registration updated.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
Make sure that you check. And where do you go to check to see if you're registered properly?
scvotes.gov.
It'll be right here.
Yes, scvotes.gov.
Remember that? You might hear it once or twice.
Now, they did some voter roll purges. So I encourage everybody to just go look at it. You can pull your sample ballot. There's a lot of information on that site. It's a great site. Our county commissioner, election commissioner is Conway Belangia. Great guy. Really, runs a nice operation. It's transparent. It's really helpful. So, yeah, he's recently been promoted.
Promoted? Yeah, thank goodness. He's going to be moving up to the state level.
State level.
So well, I'm very happy to have his
someone else.
Cleanliness and the tight ship that he runs here in Greenville County. He's now going to take that statewide. So both of us have very high confidence that that's going to be done well.
Yeah. But other myths we hear are, I was running for this office and I looked at the tally tapes at the end. Those are the ones they post on the front of the building, and it showed I got 287 votes here at this precinct. And now when all the results are counted, and my opponent had 280, all of a sudden my opponent now has 293. How can that happen?
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah. So they're like, they found these votes. Oh, yeah, it just magically appeared. And we had an election contested in the Democratic Party in Greenville because one of the candidates felt that people were turned away. And yes, they were. They were in the wrong precinct. Most were told what their correct precinct was because you have the whole statewide or at least county-wide voter rolls. So if somebody shows up in Walnut Springs, I can say, I found your name,
registered
but
elsewhere.
You're actually registered to vote in Fountain Inn 1 or whatever, and you can send them there.
But going back to those found votes, those happen with provisional ballots. Those happen with fail-safe ballots.
And sometimes mail-in.
Absentee,
ballots.
Mail-in votes. So they do get added after the fact, after the tapes.
Right. So none are magically found. They just haven't been counted and tallied initially.
On that original night.
Yes. And each county, state, they do random audits, different houses, different elections that the public can go view. We went this past
last
time.
Year, after the 24 election.
And it was a lot of fun. They have a little roped off area.
A lot of fun. Is that what you call a lot of fun?
It was interesting.
It was very interesting.
Because they have the people there hand counting ballots to make sure it matches all the tapes.
People.
At least, yes.
And
but,
Conway Belanger plus a couple other
There were some
there.
strange looks we got. We'd ask questions. People weren't sure if they could answer or not answer.
The area was roped off so that they could work inside this area in a safe space so that nothing goes in or out without controls in place. The bins go in with the ballots.
Right. Escorted,
They check the tapes. Is this what we're looking for? Yes. Is this what we're looking for? Okay, this is on the list.
Yeah,
okay,
sealed boxes.
Hand this to the people.
Yeah. So it's very secure. So do you remember what he said to us when I was trying to apologize because it looks like we definitely set them their rhythm off and I couldn't figure out why. And what did he say to us?
Nobody's ever actually witnessed this before. Yeah. Nobody's ever actually come and sat through and seen the audit before, even though we make it public every year or every election. Yeah. We do this all the time. You're the first ones ever. Yeah,
and he's been here, Greenville County Commissioner for, it's like 35 years or so. So we're the first ones to ever audit. But you have questions, ask the questions.
Yep. And we did a couple times.
Yep.
And they were very open to it, to understand, okay, why is it this bin? How did you choose the bins? And effectively, it was just random. They have a whole stack of bins back there with different precincts, ballots in there. So they basically check 1, 2, or 3, or if there is somebody contesting something, they also take one of those, and they hand it to the people to count the ballots. They do not tell them how many to expect in advance. They say, count these, tell me how many are for X, how many are for Y, and how many are for Z candidate. And they sit there and add them up. They then hand these ballots over to the next person, and they swap, and they count it, double check it, and then at the end they say, okay, how many did you have? How many did you have? They compare that against the papers and the tapes, all of that, and verify that, yes, the actual physical ballot that got marked by the BMDs, the ballot marking devices, show exactly who was voted for on that ballot.
Right. So. I often give little talks to various groups about voter integrity, where I kind of walk them through the process and all the checks and the double checks, and so people understand the security of it all. So if anyone is interested in me talking to their group, feel free to reach out to the GCDP, and they'll contact me, and I'm happy to give any of that information. But in my talks, I've done a lot of research, and one of my favorite organizations, not the Heritage Foundation, does a lot of voter tracking because people are convinced there's voter fraud.
I'm not sure why. Actually, I am sure why
yes.
they're concerned about it, because you hear it all the time on right-wing radio, on right-wing television, OAN, Fox, et cetera, et cetera. They keep pounding the mantra over and over that voter fraud, your votes are not safe. They want people to be scared. And yes, indeed,
Correct.
They are.
Correct. So I'm taking information and stats from the Heritage Foundation, who will bend over backwards to find any malfeasance in the voting process. And it doesn't matter even who commits it. They just want rules to make voting stricter, more difficult. And their data they started tracking in 1982. So take a guess how many cases in South Carolina were, prosecuted, found guilty or convicted of voter fraud in the state of South Carolina. Wait, and let me first tell you, there are over 4 million registered voters in South Carolina. So in those 40, let's see, what is that, 43 years? 43 years. Tell me how many cases they've found.
I'm going to guess.
Go ahead.
Not that many. Voter fraud.
Okay.
So that's all the illegal,
voter fraud.
All them illegal aliens.
No. I'll get to that next. Voter fraud.
Complete voter fraud. Okay.
One case. That's it. One case.
That's the big problem that we are using to justify.
That represents millions and millions of votes, because you're looking at all the primaries, all the generals, everything else.
That's a whole lot of zeros before that percent comes up.
So how about these illegal aliens or whatever? How many non-citizen cases have they found?
In South Carolina, I don't know, but I did look at the actual data that the Heritage Foundation put out over that same time frame for the nationwide, and I think the number that I remember was for non-citizens who were found to have voted. It was a total of 13 over that period of time, which I forgot how many millions of votes it was across that time period. But 13.
That may have been nationwide because South Carolina, I think this is from the year 2000 to the year 2025, December of 2025. So that's very recent. They found, drumroll, zero cases of non-citizens voting.
We better get a law in place then to keep them from doing that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So
all those people with last names that end in Z, we got to keep them from away.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, making laws. I brought it here on my phone. You're going to love this, because in 2024, we had on our ballot a constitutional change, okay?
Yeah, I remember that one.
And it was overwhelmingly voted in favor of, let me get this actual stats, 85.9% of those who voted in the 2024 election said, yes, they only want citizens to vote. So the Republicans are all, it's a dog whistle. They're all like, see, everybody, is for this. Everyone is for this. But let me tell you how it was worded and what it actually did and what you paid these legislators to do with your money, with your tax money. Okay, so here it is. The proposed constitutional amendment question, okay, this is exactly taken off the ballot. It says, must Section 4, Article 2 of the Constitution of this state relating to voter qualifications be amended so as to provide that only a citizen of the United States and of this state of the age of 18 and upwards who is properly registered is entitled to vote as provided by law. So, I mean, it sounds like, we want citizens. And these damn Democrats don't want, They want
to let the illegals vote.
They want the illegals to vote. So let me tell you what that did, what that changed, okay? What they didn't say is, are you voting in favor of this as opposed to in favor of this? Let me read to you what Section 4, Article 2 of the state constitution said before they changed it? And you tell me if you spot the difference. Okay. Must Section 4, Article 2 of the Constitution of this state relating to voter qualifications be amended so as to provide that every citizen of the United States and of this state of the age of 18 and upwards who is properly registered is entitled to vote as provided by law? Would you say yes to that?
So you all have the benefit. You can actually play it back. And then play it back twice and to hear the difference between every and only, if I remember correctly.
It was one word
difference.
Change.
It makes no difference whatsoever, but we spent legislative time,
money, just to prepare the ballot, get everything. It had to go to the Senate, it had to go through the House, and of course then the governor had to approve it. It changed absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. So it's a little frustrating to me.
It's a lot frustrating.
Yeah, and they're running around, the Republicans, I think it was Kimbrell who brought this up, and he's saying, because we don't want illegal, what did he call it? Illegal immigrants. We have no illegal immigrants voting, period. Mm-hmm. Okay? And this doesn't stop anyone who wants to commit fraud anyway.
The law was there to begin with. And
federal law says you have to be a U.S. citizen to vote. Mm-hmm. This has no change at all on state law. But now they can promote that we were the ones that said only U.S. citizens can vote.
We're protecting you. And
we had that too.
We're protecting the American way.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. So a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of waste of time. Mm-hmm. So
what other kind of myths do we have out there? Absentee voting.
Okay. So. South Carolina has changed some laws on absentee voting. You have to sign affidavits that state why you need an absentee ballot. For instance,
there's only a certain subset of accepted reasons for which.
Right.
One of which we're probably might be using is being out of the county, away from your precinct at the time of the election.
No. You would think that would be okay at the time of the election. Mm-hmm. It's not just at the time of the election. It has to be at the time of all early voting time and the election.
Good.
So you got that whole week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., or whatever the hours of the early voting.
You
could not vote those times. So
does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah, and then there's no verification. So your ballot in our state has to be postmarked by the election date, this year, November 3rd. But there's no mechanism to check to see if your ballot was received. And there's no remedy for misdirected mail. Now, when our oldest son moved to Texas, like most states, they have a law that within 30 days you need to change your license.
Mm-hmm.
So driver's license.
Yep,
so he changed his driver's license. Mm-hmm. So within, I don't remember exactly if it was 3 or 4.
I think it was 4 days.
And I don't even need to exaggerate, this. So I'll even say 4 days. Within 4 days, the state had sent
Which state?
A letter. Our state, South Carolina, sent to state that said, we see you've moved out of state, okay, and we've taken you off our voter rolls, blah, blah, blah. 4 days, business days, could have been less.
Nice system.
Now, that same year, when my mom sent us a Christmas card that was postmarked December 12th, we got it January 14th. So if you can't confirm your ballot was received ever, what do you think is going to happen to some of these ballots? I don't know, and I'm not insinuating there's nefarious intent again, but we have some issues. And let me tell you the issues, too. When you look at fraudulent voting or fraudulent attempts at fraudulent voting, which party do you think is more of the culprit?
I don't think I know.
Okay. No.
I do know, yeah.
By Heritage Found, all the statistics I came up with, all these nonpartisan reports or partisan Republican reports.
Yep.
There is more fraud on the Republican side. Do you know why? Let me tell you why, because you're going to love this. Because there has been so much the inculcation of repeating the lie over and over again that the election was stolen.
That the Democrats are cheating.
That the Democrats are cheating.
Yep.
People believe that.
And therefore
they are justified in cheating. It's like if we're playing a game and the rules aren't the rules anymore, then it's fair game if I cheat since they cheated.
Since they're cheating.
And that's the rationale. Okay? So what you get is some bad game theory where from the top, Americans could have been united. We have a system now that is pitting the division of a team. It should be Team USA, and now it's Team A USA and Team B USA against each other. And that's no way to be a leader.
Unify whatsoever. Yep.
So in 2022, WAPO poll showed that when asked about if they asked Democrats and Republicans if they had high confidence in the votes being counted correctly. Okay?
Yeah.
71% of Democrats had high confidence it was counted correctly. 22% of Republicans had high confidence. And why?
The inculcation.
Why?
That's
because
the propaganda that they are being fed consistently.
Fed over and over, even though they have tried and they found one or two cases. And in all these cases, it was Republicans on this election. And there was nothing that would have swayed a state. I think I had some stats here.
Any major election.
Yeah. In the 2020 election, where there was massive fraud alleged, 6 swing states found 475 potential voter fraud cases. And I'm not talking about something that was brought up on charges, netted any kind of convictions or anything. It was potential fraud cases out of more than 25 million votes cast. And that was not enough to change even one state's outcome, even if they were all true and all stacked in one state. So,
and stacked on the Democrat side versus the Republican side, right?
So why don't you tell us about some of the deadlines to register to vote?
Well, June 9th, like I mentioned earlier, is the election, the primary election in South Carolina. If you're not familiar with what primaries are, and many people are not, if you are a sports fan, that's the semifinals. That's how you figure out who is going to the big game. The election on November 3rd, coming this year, we have, in some cases now, multiple Democrats running to be the nominee for that seat on the November 3rd election. And in some cases, we have 7 Republicans vying to be that name on the Republican side. So June 9th is the election. So the deadline to actually register to vote in person for primaries is May 8th at 5 p.m. Make sure you are registered. And where do you go to get registered?
Are they still allowing it online?
scvotes.gov.
scvotes.gov if you can still do it online. But, you can. At the county offices you can, at DMV you can. But you want to do it fast and check it out.
If you do it at the DMV or you rely on the DMV, don't rely on the DMV. As poll managers, we found that was very consistently a way when people thought that they were making changes to their voter registration, and the DMV did not pass it through to the Election Commission. So if you have changed it at the DMV, check with scvotes.gov. Make sure that it is actually updated to your right address where you are living now by May 8th if you want to vote. And we ask you, please vote in the primary election this couple months from now.
Yeah, this couple months. But let me point something out that there's often questions with. Again, having open primaries, you can. It doesn't matter if you feel in your heart you're Republican or Democrat or whatever. You can vote. The first thing they're going to ask you during this primary is something was drilled into us
over and over.
In which political parties' primary would you like to vote today? Because that's the ballot they'll pull. So let's say I'm a Democrat, and for whatever reason I don't like my candidate,
or I have no
reason,
choices.
Or I have
in
no
some
choices.
cases, it was frequent. It was very frequent in the past,
right?
That Democrats didn't have a choice to choose between, and therefore go vote on the Republican side, and you can pick the lesser of the evils, if you want to think of it that way, or try to pick the decent one that you saw.
Yeah. For instance, the governor's rate. Who has like 7 or 8 candidates running? Is that?
I think it's
that's governor
yeah.
or Senate. Is that Lindsey Graham's seat? Yeah. One of those has just a slew of Republicans running. So the top Republicans, well, whoever gets more than 50%, but you get 7 in a pool like that, you're not going to get someone over 50% probably.
Yeah. Governor has 7 Republicans, has 3 Democrats.
Yeah. So here's the technicality. If you vote in the Republican primary, okay, regardless of what party you identify with, if you vote in the Republican primary and there is a runoff, and likely there will be, you may only vote in the Republican primary runoff. Again. Okay? You can't switch teams, because what you're doing is you want to pick somebody in that party.
I want to make sure that's real clear.
Yeah.
Between the primary and the runoff,
you can't switch. So, correct. So when it comes back to the general election, you can vote for anyone you want.
Because you don't have to pick a party.
Right.
You just go to vote at that point.
So there's going to be a runoff. I don't see any way there's not going to be a runoff.
It's extremely probable. In the U.S. Senate side, there are 7 Republicans and 3 Democrats. The reason to have a runoff is if none of the candidates get more than 50%, then the top 2 go to a runoff. So if you have 7 candidates, it is highly probable that none of them will get more than 50%. There will be enough, divvying up of the electorate. Right.
So I would say, based on the governor's election alone, both parties will probably have a runoff. Okay. But let's say you're in an election year where that's not going to be a problem. There's still possibilities that something down ballot, a county council seat, 5 people vying for the seat, there could be a runoff there. In that case, just be aware that not every precinct in Greenville County would have a runoff election. It would just pertain to the precincts that are involved in that county council's district.
So do you know where you can go to find out if you actually have something on the ballot?
scvotes.gov.
scvotes.gov, people. You've got to get familiar with that. Save it on your browser, save it on your phone. You can find out all this information and keep tabs on exactly what's coming your way, and educate yourself ahead of time.
Right.
There's a whole lot of other education you can do by listening to this podcast and hearing the candidates themselves. Lots of other places as well. But get used to scvotes.gov. You can find out, do I have on my ballot something to vote, something to choose?
Yeah. Your ballot is going to show you so much information. For instance, are you registered? Make sure you're registered. So it'll show you that. Go to it right now. I'll talk slower. So scvotes.gov. Pull it up. It will then also have your polling location. It'll have the address. Sometimes they'll combine precincts, so it might not be your regular precinct.
Location will move.
So your polling location can be different. Early voting, oftentimes they combine precincts.
Many precincts, right.
Yes. So it'll tell you where you can vote. It will also tell you what districts you're in. So if you have governor, you have Senate. If you
have the question asked of you, well, who's your state representative?
Yeah. How many of you out there can tell me what House district you're in? Okay. Most people cannot. And some of these areas are gerrymandered. So artistically, we'll say, that somebody across the street from me can be in the same congressional district, federal
Congress.
Congressional district, but we can have different state congressional districts, maybe different, the same county council seat, but maybe a different House seat. So
the maps are extremely convoluted around here.
Yeah. So going to a precinct doesn't mean all your neighbors in there are voting on the same ballot either. So, for instance, our polling location might have 3 different, even though it's one precinct, the precincts don't line up with districts, county council districts, house districts, any of those. So there's going to be different ballot styles. So I've had someone say to me, oh, yeah, they got my name, and then they gave me a different ballot than they gave somebody else. You know, they're picking. Yeah, I know. Like they're picking on me, and you know, somehow, you know, the fix is in. They gave me this marked ballot, and so
within
they're different
within
ballot
a precinct,
styles.
you could have 3 or 4. Sometimes 5 different ballot styles because of the way that the maps are chopped up.
Correct.
So within a given geography,
right.
Now this House district and this House district, but then the county council districts are sliced up this way. So you got 4 different ballot styles.
Right. So when you first go in, you check in, you give them your name, you give them your ID and the address. So you check the address and the electronic poll books, those like check-in little tablets there. They show all that information. So I would know what ballot style to give. You know, I'm like, oh, Steve, I see you're in House 16
Stick
here.
the ballot in there.
Congressional District
Prints
3.
out the correct ballot.
Yeah. So put it in. It'll print out the correct ballot, which is going to be different, perhaps, than the guy behind you in line. So don't panic. No one's. And
another fail-safe, even if those machines go down, there are printed ballots of all of those different ballot styles.
Yes.
Once again, you look at the information on a paper.
Yeah, and there's a paper poll book also.
That says, okay, they get ballot style A. Oh, so-and-so gets ballot style B. So even power goes down and all the electronic machines go kaput, it's still covered and you're safe to get the right information and making sure that you're voting on the correct slate of people.
Right. We'll have people manning the headquarters at Greenville County Democratic Party's headquarters. So if you go to vote that day and you found something seems hinky, you can call them and call the GCDP, report it. You can call right from there. The poll manager or the poll clerk has to give you the number of the county offices to call, so you can report something. You know, say your neighbor is Jane Smith, and she goes in to vote, and you see her hand, you know, somebody else's license to them, and she says her name is Gretchen Jones or whatever. Yeah, you can contest that. Hey, you can report that. Now, I've never seen that happen, but there are weird little. Yeah,
and there are safeguards put in place to make sure that voting is safe.
Right.
We at the GCD Greenville County Democratic Party, we have a lawyer sitting with us on Election Day, and we probably got 20, 30 calls from people who were watching the polls who thought they saw something hinky. When they describe what they saw, it's like, no, that's actually okay. And based on us being poll managers for several years, we've seen all sorts of problems and understand, okay, well, when a person saw this and this happened and this is actually the situation, and it made sense, or there wasn't anything hinky after all.
Right. Let me tell you.
All of those examples from last election turned out to be, no, they were non-issues.
Right. Yeah, both.
But it's good to keep looking.
Both parties, even independents, they'll have teams of lawyers just ready to jump on any kind of thing. Yeah. So big stuff. Okay.
So let me give you a couple other deadlines. So the deadline for voters to apply for absentee ballots, if you are going to be absent throughout the early voting period and the election. If you are going to be absent for the primaries, that is May 29th. You have till that deadline to apply for the absentee ballot. So make sure that you get that in time if you are planning to be out and about somewhere. Your vote matters. Please make that effort.
And there's some little conveniences maybe people aren't aware of. Didn't think of this, but you know, someone just has surgery on their leg, you know, a knee replacement, and they go to vote. They can't walk in there, but they didn't know soon enough to get an absentee ballot. They have curbside voting. They'll bring a voting machine out to you. Still same safeguards and everything. You can vote that way. You're elderly, you need assistance. There are special formats to assist someone with special equipment. If someone is blind.
Hearing impaired, blind.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There are processes that poll managers get trained in order to manage that.
Mm-hmm. Wheelchair bound. You don't have to stand in a voting booth.
Curbside. That was one of the myths I actually wrote down and sketched down, is that if you use curbside, you can actually get in and avoid the line.
Oh, yeah.
If the poll clerk and the poll managers are doing it right, then no. You pull up, and if you are unable to stand in the line, that's okay. You pull up, poll manager comes out and says, okay, do you want to vote curbside? Yes, I do. They give you a marker, basically, that goes in line with everybody else.
Yes.
And when that marker comes up to the check-in desk, then that's when you actually get served to do the voting.
And there are limited numbers of spots. So let's say you get a slew of people that want to, at least I can sit in my car and play Candy Crush or something until I vote.
Air conditioning.
Air conditioning, and this and that. But no, it's not going to help you. Don't do it, please. What other deadlines do you have, or
the
situations?
Primary runoffs. Once again, if the most likely situation that we do have runoffs, that would be June 23rd. So June 9th and June 23rd. Plan on voting both of those days, or plan on voting ahead of time. I don't think I have here when the early voting is for the runoffs, but just remember June 9, June 23rd.
Right. But there will be early voting for primaries, primary runoffs, and
In the past, like we've mentioned, the Democrats haven't had a whole lot of choices in the past, and many times people go across because these are open primaries. Democrats or independents just vote on the Republican side to pick the lesser of the evils, or to make a point. There's actually a really good example of doing it the right way, and that was Davita, I can't remember her family name, told a story about Martin Luther King Day, which Greenville County was one of the very last counties in the nation to ever have a Martin Luther King Day. Reverend Jesse Jackson came down to try to push for that. It was something like 12 years that was pushed for. It wasn't until a group of people all decided they were Democrats, and they decided, even though we have nothing to vote for on the Democrat side, let's all jump over to the Republican ballot and pick the lesser of the evils, and they got that person in and on the ballot for November. That person then was able to influence the county council board and changed. Then Martin Luther King Day was, after all that. It was a good example of using that. However, this year, things are different.
Oh, yeah.
For the first time in 60 years, we have every House seat is up for grabs in South Carolina.
Has a Democrat on the ballot.
Every House seat has a Democrat on the ballot. You have somebody to vote for at the House level. At the upper levels, even above that, it's also pretty extensive. County Council, there are 3 Democrats. County Council 17, County Council 23, 3 Democrats. County Council 17, there are 4 Republicans. There, a U.S. Senate, there are 3 Democrats running. So, yes, you have choices.
Yes.
And
so one of the complaints I have heard is, I don't vote because there's never anyone to vote for on my ballot.
And we have felt that.
Yes. and this is one of the reasons I stepped up to run in our district. We have someone
a choice.
We have someone that's been in there for nearly 20 years, and he owes nothing to anyone because he just assumes he'll be there. And if I have to hear one more person say, I don't vote because – and I'm like, why don't you vote? Why bother? Yes.
If there's only one person to vote for in my district, why bother? But this year, you've got the choice. Stick with the Democrat ticket. When you go to the primaries, they will ask you, in which political party's primary? I love the alliteration.
Yeah.
In which political party's primary do you wish to vote today? Pick the Democrat side. Make sure your voice is heard. You've got choices. Yeah. There are 3 Democrats running for governor.
Well, I'm hoping Republicans listen to this also. So
you also can.
Okay, so you don't need to pull the Democrat ticket. You can pull the Republican ticket, whichever you feel led to do. But, my own personal pitch is, how's that working for you? Over 20 years
in power with the
Republican
trifecta.
Yeah,
they have the House.
We're still in the bottom 10 for education, for health care.
You were nonpartisan for about 30 seconds there.
Well, I can't stand it. We're in the top 10 for infant mortality. Top 10%, or top 10 states for maternal immortality.
The worst roads.
We have nurses, teachers, doctors leaving the state because they can't practice here. That's not going to help. That's going to it'll cycle it down. And we're at a point of how low can you go? Because the things they're putting in place right now, if we're going to spend time and taxpayer money for them to sit around and decide to change one word from
or let's change the name of this road
to one, or let's name this highway. Fix the damn roads. Stop playing around with renaming them. We don't need that. Yeah,
it doesn't help us. And vote. Hopefully, we answered some questions. If you have any questions or concerns about voting that you have heard, give us a call at the Greenville County Democratic Party. We can answer the questions. We will get back to you if we haven't answered them today. I've got a whole lot of myths here that there's so much to talk about, so much BS that's out there. Give us a call. We can answer your questions, but make sure you go to scvotes.gov, check your registration, and go and vote.
Yeah, I think the listeners would be really shocked to hear that South Carolina isn't so much a red or a blue state. That's not the big problem. The problem is voter turnout. Apathy. And part of that is because we don't have choices on the ballot.
Didn't have choices.
And then, the legislators don't have to do anything. They don't have to answer the people because they just assume they're in. So if we could motivate people to go out and vote, we had this battle with our with our son in Texas. Did you vote? Did you vote? Nah. It's Texas. My vote doesn't count. If I could have reached through the phone and smacked him upside the head, I would have. If you have 100 people feeling that way in one county council area,
it makes a difference.
Yeah, enough to swing the vote. Yep. Get off your keister. If you can do nothing else to change the situation that's going on, at least vote.
There you go.
All right. scvotes.gov.
Until next time, thank you very much for
say that again.
listening and watching to The Whole Truth. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
The Greenville County Democratic Party appreciates your time listening and watching The Whole Truth podcast. You can find us on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. While you're there, please follow us, like or subscribe to this channel to help us spread the word. The GCDP wants to thank Michael Fishman from Day Moon Productions for furnishing the recording studio as well as providing his time recording and editing. The Democratic Party needs you to get actively involved and join us at future events. You can find out about them at multiple locations like the GCDP website, greenvilledemocrats.com, and browse the events calendar. You can also keep up with us through our social media presence on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Threads. Look for @GVLDem. Thanks again for listening. Let's get out there and do what we can to rebuild our government into one that serves us all. Thanks.